So now it's the 1980s, and we got Kiss Unmasked, and
people grow up.
well, you know, most of the fans of Kiss were probably getting older and getting into different things. Like I said, my neighbors got into AC/DC, and I was getting into different things too.
Well, that's true, but there are bands that like AC/DC and bands like Iron Maiden that keep, just because they don't change their style. I mean, Kiss took a risk and changed style, but they lost a lot of their hardcore fans, whereas, you know, other bands like AC/DC and Iron Maiden, they keep pretty much the same style throughout their career, and they keep their fan base and bring more to the fold. But in the end, you know, you look back and these are good records.
Well, I would look at Unmasked, and I loved the album cover when it came out, but I never heard the album. And I look at it as an attempt to make Dynasty Part 2, but the big hit eluded them. I know Shandy was released, but it wasn't a big hit in the United States.
Yeah.
And it was probably Dynasty light for the most part.
And Dynasty was just light enough. And this made it, yeah.
Yeah, Peter's gone. They stayed with the same producer, like I said, but this time 11 songs instead of 9. Ace still had 3 songs, but there's no Peter on here, obviously.
No, but Ace, I think, carried this record.
I didn't hear this album until later on. You know, again in the late '80s, and when I listened to it, it's like, wow, this. I call it a pop rock album, and this is the most pop album they ever did. 30 years later, I like this album a lot. In fact, I probably like it more than Dynasty, and I put a lot of praise on there. But when I first heard it in the late '80s, I didn't really care for it too much. It was a big disappointment. I think I was looking for a rock album, but looking at it from afar and many years later, I think this is a really, really good album, and I'll prove it to you. The first song is That You is a cover song. I've heard the original, and this is just really
I didn't
good.
know it was a cover until right now.
Yeah, it's a cover song.
Son of a gun. Totally love this first song.
Yeah,
it's my favorite of all.
Start, yeah. You know, and what about Shandy? Did you guys like that?
Yeah, Shandy I could take or leave. It's better than the Naked City.
I remember hearing that on the radio, though.
Shandy?
Yeah.
Oh, I never heard that ever.
I mean, he was exploring more disco-ish roots, you know.
My favorite song on this album, if you don't mind me saying, I like the last 2. It would be Torpedo Girl is really fun, and then You're All That I Want. I really liked.
Yeah,
that was kind of a fun
that's a good
little anthem love song. It was kind of fun.
Yeah, Paul has some great songs.
Tomorrow
is good. Like
Tomorrow's
I said,
a great song. Great way to start side 2.
Yeah.
Of the Ace songs, I don't like Two Sides of the Coin,
Really?
but I like the other 2. Torpedo Girl's funny, but Talk to Me is a good song. That was was that a single?
Talk to Me is
or,
In Europe,
yeah.
they made a video in Europe for Talk to Me, and it's kind of they're in such a small space, but with their larger than lifeness.
Yeah.
well, I see Kulik helped with Naked City.
If that you, my favorite is my favorite song.
Yeah.
My second favorite song is probably It's Easy as It Seems. That's
Really?
a great song. Absolutely great song. I really like that song. I like the way Paul sang that.
It's a very 70s-ish sounding
Well, see,
track.
I like 70s music, and you know what? These songs, it's almost like they went back.
This
to
was their
70s
last
pop.
hurrah.
It's like,
yeah, this was their last hurrah for their old sound.
Well, the thing about this album
But they did. This ain't a rock album. Like
yeah.
I said, Paul's solo album was the last rock album. These last 2 albums are pop.
Well, Ace Frehley supplies a little bit of rock on it, but yeah.
Well, the thing about this album is that if it was produced in a more of a rock and roll way, I think, and they, you know, maybe even just remixed it and just had some fun with it now with technology and changed it around, and they could really make it a harder sounding album, and it might be a little bit more enjoyable. Because when I first heard this album, I thought there was something wrong with it. I mean, everything was so lightly recorded, and there was so much treble in it. I mean, it's ridiculous how there's no bass in this album. I mean,
what do you mean? There's
the production on this album. I mean, the one I'm holding right here
there's bass on it.
Listen to Easy as It Seems.
Well, I'm not
compared to Dynasty. Yes.
Let me rephrase that. I'm talking about the sonicness of it, the sonic quality. I'm talking about the frequencies are all really high stuff. I mean, there's a bass guitar, but the trebliness and the punch of the bass guitar comes through, but none of that low end is not there. And the album, like I said, I thought there was something wrong with it. I do need to mention that this is the album. This is the time period where I started getting into Kiss for the first time. And I heard Unmasked, but it was just kind of like, oh, that's their new album. You got to hear their old stuff, And so I saw this at Shopko, and I never had the money to buy it. So I always got the stuff in the cutout bins, and that's how I got my Kiss collection. But what was I gonna say? I guess the album just has a lot of good memories as far as like some of the songs. I listened to this album a lot, although I wished it would have been produced better, I guess.
Well, I have to say I'm kind of burned out on a lot of the 70s, so if I have to listen to periods, 79 to 83 is my favorite Kiss period right now. And Revisionist History, Dynasty Unmasked are really two of my favorite albums right now. And I realize my guys aren't all playing on it, like Peter's not necessarily playing and Ace isn't playing on it, but I just like what they did, and I appreciate these albums a lot more now, 30 years later.
It's a break from what they had been doing.
And I didn't want them doing the same music for 35 years, so these are just two good albums, and if you wanted something different, these are the ones to go back to.
Yeah, I would think they were just dabbling in something different, trying to make something different with their, superhero-ness and their, this new culture and this new, this enigma of their amusement park whole thing that they were trying to do, and they just got away from rock and roll.
I think they were chasing whatever was popular.
Yeah, it didn't work at the time, but I think looking back at it now, you can appreciate it more, and it's just a part of history. But I think they did good, but it just took a while to appreciate it.
Yeah, there's some good songs. The songs are good, and we'll see if it stands the test of time. And as we know,
it's 30 years old already. How much more time do you?
Well, and Peter Criss doesn't play a note on it, as I remember. It's all
he's not there at all. No,
it's all
Anton.
Anton, and I got to tell you, the stuff that Anton was doing, it's not even Peter Criss-like.
Oh no,
that bothers me a little bit.
Oh, see,
I wish it would have been a little bit more simpler drumming, a little hard, like an Eric Carr type thing.
See,
because it's a little light.
I like the. Well, we'll get into it later as we get into new stuff. But I like the fact that they let Anton be Anton and not say, okay, you gotta play like this guy.
Yeah, maybe it's the production. Going back to Hotter Than Hell and the production of this. Yeah. Unmasked?